All commissioners are now present. We will begin in approximately 30 seconds. Okay, Rosanna, if you could take down the title card. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Public Service Commission's administrative meeting for October 27th, 2021. Before I begin today, I'd like to welcome two new employees starting at the commission today, including Jill Body. Jill will be our new office secretary for the Office of Consumer Affairs. So we welcome Jill. There's a lot of traffic that comes through the front office of our Consumer Affairs division. So Jill will be no doubt very busy in the near future. We'd also like to welcome Miss Barbara Weber to the commission. She is one of our new engineers where she'll work as a pipeline safety engineer under John Borkowski and John Clemenson. She has a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, and she was most recently employed by the Phase Separation Science as a lab technician. And prior to that, she worked for the Maryland Department of the Environment as a regulatory and compliance engineer. So Barbara, welcome to the commission as well. We have meeting minutes to approve from our last meeting of October 20th, 2021. Approval of those minutes begin with Commissioner Herman. Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The meeting minutes are approved. Good morning, Mr. Secretary.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. There are three items on today's consent agenda. Item number one is a revised access transmission tariff from MCI Metro Access Transmission Services Corp. DBA Verizon Access Transmission Services. Item number two consists of revised tariff pages from Securus Technologies LLC. And item number three is a request to amend the electricity and natural gas supplier licenses of Blitz Ventures Inc. DBA Energy Bot Electric and Gas.
Thank you. Do commissioners have questions on any of these consent agenda items? Seeing none, I would move that with respect to item number one, that we note the name change and direct the company to file a clean copy of the effective tariff pages with an effective date of October 27th, 2021. With respect to item number two, I move that we direct the company to file a clean copy of the tariff pages that reflect the language in attachment A of staff's comments dated October 20th, 2021, and accept the tariff pages for filing with an effective date of October 26th, 2021. And with respect to item number three, I move that we approve the company's request to amend its electricity and natural gas supplier licenses to include the residential customer class in all utility territories. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved. Mr. Secretary, the administrative agenda.
Mr. Chairman, item number four on the administrative agenda was held over from an administrative meeting earlier this month. It's a notice of customer assignment from Major Energy Electric Services LLC. On this item for staff, we have Nan Zhang and Catherine Mackerlane, and for the company, Barbara Clay, Kenia Joseph, and Brian Green.
Thank you. This was a holdover because of a no-show of the parties. Could the parties please make an appearance? With respect to Major Energy Electric Services, LLC.
Mr. Chairman, this is Brian Green on behalf of Major Energy. Good morning. With me today is Major's General Counsel, Barbara Clay, and also Kenia Joseph, who is the Director of Regulatory Affairs and Compliance.
Thank you, Mr. Green. What happened a few weeks ago? Why did your clients not appear?
I think there was a misunderstanding on the client side. Ms. Joseph, who is here, didn't quite understand the difference between the link and the YouTube. So she was on the YouTube, on the internet, watching and trying to figure out how to talk. So we apologize for that. I was not involved at that meeting and received a phone call shortly thereafter.
Thank you. Can they turn on their cameras if they're here?
I saw
Ms.
Ms.
Clay.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Ms. Joseph, are you here?
I spoke to her this morning. She should be on. She may be having, we've had a nor'easter, which I'm sure you guys have also. She may be having some technical difficulties.
Okay. I see her in the room, but she has a gray box on her screen there. I know we had some questions for Major Energy, so we'll start with Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everybody. So I started to ask some questions last week, Mr. Green or whoever's going to speak for the company regarding the complaint history. So first, let me ask you this: what is Major Energy's corporate relationship? Characterize the corporate relationship with Starion and other affiliates. How is that?
I'll take a shot at that, and then Ms. Clay, if you want to clean it up. There is no corporate relationship with Starion. Starion is a separate supplier, separate company, and they are currently in bankruptcy proceedings. And Major, I believe with the permission of the bankruptcy court, is purchasing the contracts of the Starion customers in the entire Starion footprint. And that would include close to 900, I believe, customers here in Maryland.
And would their subs come along with that, or there other, field agents, all that come over too?
No, it's only the contracts that are being purchased, and each of the contracts does have an assignment clause in it. So, what Major did is they've purchased the contracts of these customers, and then pursuant to Commission Comar's, they've issued joint notices to the customers that they will be transitioned over to Major Energy, but that all of their current terms and conditions of their contract will be on.
That's correct.
I see. So there were in the buck sheet, as I'm sure you've reviewed, there were 13 complaints reported over the last 3 years, some of which are serious, and that the commission has a very low tolerance for. Could you and I'm of the opinion that if you have 13 complaints, you have a whole lot more problems that are unreported out there. So tell me about these complaints that Major's had, and characterize that for me, because they seem pretty serious.
Right. So we actually went through the complaints since 2019 and provided a sort of a high level overview to staff yesterday. And we counted since the beginning of 2019, 12 complaints, and we went through them, each one, to see, are they the same types of complaints that were such a problem, quite frankly, in the show cause decision, which, and just so the commission is aware, those complaints arose after the polar vortex. There were like 170 of them in the first quarter alone of 2014, involving primarily variable pricing and door-to-door marketing. Major today is no longer. Major today.
Hold on a second, Mr. Green. Felix Patterson.
Well, no, I'm just trying to get the sound.
Mr. Patterson, if you could please mute your microphone. Or if host advisor Rosanna, if you
I should have this has speaker in here.
Rosanna, there we go. Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Green.
No problem. Major today is not marketing variable products. They're marketing fixed price contracts of various durations, 6, 12, and 15 months. They've also completely overhauled their door-to-door enrollment process, and a lot of that has to do with Ms. Clay and Ms. Joseph's involvement coming in as Spark purchased Major in 2016. But we did look at each of the complaints. Of the 12 that we were able to look at, we didn't see the types of misrepresentation problems that we've seen in the past, and certainly that have been the subject of show cause orders very recently and currently. What we saw, for example, there were two where Major had acquired a different two other companies, and two of those customers were saying, I never enrolled with the prior company. There were 4 out of the 12 involved a specific fixed price contract that Major was offering, and they were online enrollments, and the customers, there was concern that they didn't, I won't get into all the fleshy details, but they didn't quite understand what the contract said, and we actually got a CAD closing letter in early October, ruling in the company's favor on one of those 4. I don't think the other 3 have been ruled on. So I don't want to go through each one, but we're comfortable if I can, without overstating it. 'Cause I understand the importance of complaints, and I understand that many times complaints can be indicative of larger problems. What we have not seen is any widespread or systemic type problem. We've seen some one-offs, I think, on various issues, but we haven't seen anything that gives rise to a larger problem, and certainly not the types of complaints that we saw in 2014. And I hope that answers your question. We can go into, I'm happy to go into more detail about some of the complaints if you'd like. And certainly Ms. Clay can add, but I just want to make sure, because I know this is sensitive and as well it should be, and I want to make sure that we respond appropriately.
I would like to add one thing that I think will be helpful, because it's all about taking complaints as serious as possible and making sure that they are not, as you had mentioned, a sign of bigger problems. So I came in about 2 years ago, and I brought Kenya in, and one of the things we do is we read every single complaint that comes in, and we have a small committee that we look at, by email every day what complaints came in, and go right to the root and make sure that there isn't a bigger problem. And so I think if you look in the past 2 years compared to the prior years, you will see the fundamental overhaul has certainly worked. By no means we are not perfect, but we take compliance very, very seriously, and appreciate that you're listening to us today about that.
Do you, Ms. Clay, does the company have a compliance officer person assigned to compliance?
We don't have a compliance officer. Kenya is our head of the compliance, and I'm over that. So I'm their officer over it. And I spend 50% of my time on compliance every day. So the position is designed to watch it very seriously at the highest level.
Okay. So of course, at risk of stating the obvious, the concern is, I mean, the complaint is a manifestation of something, but the real concern is adherence to Maryland statute and to regulation and to our COMARs. So, does the company have an appreciation that following the law and following the regulations are something that we take very, very seriously at the commission? Please, give us your perspective on that.
Absolutely. And in fact, I only came to this company 2 years ago, and that was very, very important to me, because, I have a reputation, and I also don't want to work fool's errand. I found them to be, they want to do the right thing. They listen. We engage Brian to help us because, there's constant rule changes, and we want to make sure we're doing everything right. So from the top, very seriously take compliance and following Maryland's laws. Never been a pushback.
Okay. Well, just I appreciate the discussion. I appreciate the improvements. And I thought that this was something that was worth a further discussion at least, because as Mr. Greenwell knows, and I'm sure you do as well, Ms. Clay, that we have a renewed emphasis on consumer protections, and we take it very, very seriously. There is a legislative interest in this, having been down there for 22 years. I know that very well, and as do my colleagues. And we just want to send the message on a continuing basis that slamming and deceptive practices and violations of protections we've installed for consumers will not be tolerated in the least. And I hear that you appreciate that, and I know that we're going to be very watchful of these matters going forward.
I appreciate that. We watch it every day and we take it very, very seriously. So I am thankful for this opportunity to let you know that.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Donnell. As the commissioner just said, this remains a top priority for this agency. Obviously, Ms. Clay, before you joined Major, it was a household name here at the PSC, and we will be continuing to monitor all retail supply activity in the state. Commissioner Richard, do you have a question?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Green. I just wanted to just check. I think you said that there will be no variable rate plans at Major. Did I hear you correctly?
Right, so Major currently is not marketing a variable rate product. Now, just to clarify though, in full disclosure, there are fixed rate plans that they are marketing, and at the end of that term, the customer can default to a variable rate. So that Major does have customers that are on variable rates presently, but they're not marketing variable rate contracts.
Okay, and will some of the customers that are migrating from Starion, are they on variable rate? Are any of them on variable rate?
Ms. Clay, you know the answer to that?
I'd have to dig in. I think Starion only sold fixed. So to the extent that it's same answer, that they were sold on fixed, and there probably are some defaulting to variable. I can look into that.
Okay, yeah, and these questions all go to the draft letter that you provided, and I want to be careful here. It was marked confidential, but I just wanted to just, maybe it's more of a suggestion that it might be helpful for the customers receiving this letter if maybe they can, be clarified. I mean, if there is no one going over from variable, then maybe you don't need the sentence that you probably know I'm talking about. I think it's the fourth paragraph.
Gotcha.
And if possible, I notice you have a lot of fields. Perhaps it would be helpful for the customer to know and be reminded if they're on, a fixed or a variable rate. So again, less a question and maybe more of just a suggestion that might be helpful to the customers that are you're proposing to be migrated. And one other thing I know I personally find frustrating when I get these type of letters is to have to hunt around for information. In a couple of places it talks about contact, after this date, and Starion before this date.
Fair.
The numbers are all kind of there, but maybe you could bring them all together even in the frequently asked questions section, or maybe right there where you suggest the calls. And even when you're talking about in an emergency, you still want to contact your utility. Again, that might be a useful number to have there since you brought up the topic, and it would be a good reminder to the customer. So again, less questions and more just maybe some suggestions that popped out at me when I read through the documents for this case. So thank you. Thank you,
I
Mr.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no additional questions at this time, I am prepared to propose a motion that we note the filing. Vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved. For all viewers that are waiting for the offshore wind trial, that trial will begin 10 minutes after the conclusion of today's administrative meeting. Mr. Secretary, please call the next item.
Mr. Chairman, item number 5 on the administrative agenda is Washington Gas Light Company's 2021 semi-annual strategic infrastructure development and enhancement status report. On this item for staff, we have Ngusi Tesfaye, Annette Garofalo, John Burkowski, Jamie Smith, Benjamin Baker, Felix Patterson, and Afton Hauer. And for the company, John Dodge, Wayne Yakis, Greg DeKramer, Aaron Stuper, Dave Thomas, and Andrew Lawson.
Thank you. Good morning to the staff team.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Ngusi Tesfaye on behalf of Commission staff. Washington Gas Company's 2021 semi-annual status report is accompanied by notice of certain changes in the company's project list and expenditures, including information on the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic which led to revised 2020 surcharges. Specifically, WGL removed one project in Distribution Program 3 with an estimated 2021 spend of $467,998 from the 2021 project list work schedule, as the main was determined to be ineligible for stride treatment based upon records research performed as part of the detailed design process. In addition, the company carried forward 12 projects to the calendar year 2021 stride project list that were not completed as planned in the calendar year 2020, but were completed in the calendar year 2021. As instructed in the Commission's letter order dated September 9, 2020, the company notifies the Commission on August 10, 2021, that all associated BCS have been closed. Only 5 of the 12 projects from the 2020 project list had any cost incurred during 2021, as shown in the attachment A. Staff has reviewed the provided exhibits and work papers associated with WGL's Maryland Stride 2021 semi-annual report, proposed modification to the 2021 Stride project list, and believes the Stride revenue requirement calculations are accurate. The total 2021 Stride surcharges include the updated 2021 Stride factors and the 2020 Stride reconciliation factors. The net revenue requirement impact was a reduction of $25,253. In updating the revenue requirement, the Stride revenues and expenditures were updated for actuals amounts from January through August 2021. In addition, staff requested and WGL provided supporting exhibits and work papers illustrating the related Stride revenue requirement and the Stride surcharge impacts associated with changing the project and not updating for actual expenditures and collections, as shown in attachment B. The revenue requirement impact was a reduction of $8,270. The revenue requirement of $6,825,633 is a result of attachment B revenue requirement of $7,069,224, less the 2020 reconciliation amount of $243,591. This resulted in no change in the residential Stride surcharge of 8 cents, but some change to the other customer rate classes. The proposed surcharge caps reflect an updated in customer months billed as well as an updated in the Stride authorized cost. The Stride revenue allocation percentage used for each class in the calculation of the proposed surcharge caps as the same revenue allocation percentage used in the company's most recent base rate, as case number 9651. As shown in the table 10 on page 15, the company's monthly surcharge caps have slightly increased for all customer classes, with the exception of GMA non-heating/non-cooling class. The staff recommends that the Commission approve the change on the WGL's Stride 2021 project list and note the company's 2021 semi-annual Stride status report. Staff also recommends that WGL include updated revenue requirement and Stride surcharge rate calculations in all Stride filings with the Commission that propose project list change, as noted by staff and directed by the Commission during the July 28, 2021 administrative meeting. Finally, Staff recommends the Commission accept the proposed monthly surcharge, which will become effective November 1, 2021 through December 2021. Mr. Felix Patterson of the Accounting Investigation Division is after now of the Telecommunication, Gas and Water Division, and myself are available to answer any question you may have on this matter. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tesfaye, and to the team for a very comprehensive buck sheet and presentation. Does Counsel for Washington Gas have anything further to add?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. John Dodge appearing on behalf of the company. We too thank staff for their laudatory efforts on this buck sheet. We are available to answer any questions. I would add that Mr. Charles Jackson from the company has also joined us. We report in our semi-annual and annual reports on the mercury service regulators that are removed at times incidental to stride work. And if there are any questions from the Commission on that, Mr. Jackson is available to answer those questions. I would just say from a very high level, Mr. Chairman, the company is having a good solid year on stride. Mr. Akis can get into the numbers if you'd like. The one concern that we have noted in our regular meetings internally is the continued variation between estimated and actual cost, which is largely driven by paving costs. The Commission will recall that under state law, municipalities and counties have the discretion to, in the field, change the scope of paving. And if we have a 20-foot street cut, it's quite often that a municipality or county will order us to do 100 feet of paving or to the next stoplight, curb to curb. So if anybody has any good thoughts on how we can estimate those variables more accurately, we're all ears. We're proud of the advances we've made in our cost estimation techniques, but this one continues to challenge us, as I said. I'd also like to call out that we would like some guidance, perhaps not today, but from a working group perspective, on returning to the Commission when we find a non-stride eligible project as part of our final design process. As Mr. Tesfaye mentioned, we had one such project this year. It's the first one I'm aware of in the history of the program and the thousands of projects that we brought to the Commission's attention. If the Commission wants us to come back on a formal basis to remove those, we're certainly willing to, but we don't want to get in a situation where we're obligated to keep working a project prior to the Commission's approval of removal of a non-eligible project from an approved list. Lastly, we would appreciate some guidance on the surcharge matter, which is implicit in Mr. Tesfaye's recommendations that we return for de minimis changes. Here, looking at the paving increases and balancing those against the $8,000 decrease overall in the revenue requirement, we were, shall I say, somewhat confident we wouldn't be coming back to the Commission with a reduced revenue requirement. But here we are, given the circumstances. So again, perhaps not today, but if folks could give some thought to guidance on when an LDC should come in. We don't want to burden the Commission with monthly surcharge changes or monthly reports on project development or removal, but we do want to acknowledge those issues and again, say that we're open to all ideas on how to address them. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dodge. The Commission is not in a position to provide you with guidance with respect to a number of your requests today. However, if you formally petition the Commission, we will do so. With respect to the first item, under what authority does a municipality have to compel the utility to pave an entire street when you only have, let's say, a 10 or 20-foot cut?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact statutory citation, but there's a general grant of authority in the Maryland Code to municipalities and counties for paving matters. And then usually under the county or state, or excuse me, county or municipal code, they are allowed to deploy field inspectors. So it's a cascading authority. And when we get out to the field, we've already done the underground work, and a field inspector will say, well, you don't just go between these two mailboxes, you go up to the stoplight. So it's a general grant of authority and the discretion accorded to the field inspectors. And I can follow up with a statutory citation on that.
Thank you, Mr. Dodge. That won't be necessary. I can't imagine the commission has any good ideas because we cannot predict the extent of what paving is necessary. So what we'll do is, I don't know what we'll do actually, but this is a variable cost that we will have to deal with going forward. I'll turn to my colleagues to see if they have any thoughts on these questions or have questions of their own. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Dodge, maybe you or Mr. Yakas, somebody on the team, talk to me about the bucksheet mention of low pressure main replacements and what that number gives a number, what that number represents as related to the total amount of main remaining in the system.
Sure, I'll put Mr. Akas on the hot seat on that one, Commissioner. I know that we continue to make steady improvement on replacing low pressure. I'm not sure what percentage we have removed and have left, but maybe Mr. Akas can address that.
Thank you, John. I'd have to go back and double check the percentage of low pressure, but I do know so far this year we have replaced over a mile of low pressure main from this year's project list.
We can follow up with the specifics, Your Honor, if you'd like.
Yeah, I think it was like 8,000 feet or something, if my memory's serving me correctly, but or somewhere in that vicinity. But I was struck by that much main replaced, but only 6 services. So a very low number of services were actually replaced. When you replace the main, are you replacing the low pressure? I mean, you have to replace the low pressure services, right?
That is correct, Commissioner O'Donnell. We whatever service that's associated with that main will be replaced at the same time as well.
Yeah.
Medium pressure.
Yeah, I'd be interested in just kind of keeping tabs on it. You know, my interest in this. I will additionally ask: Have you received any pushback in installation of regulators for the service replacements and what that entails in terms of any external regulators and any bollards or anything like that that have to be installed? What
So I would defer to Mr. Dave Thomas to answer that question, Commissioner O'Donnell.
Yes, Commissioner O'Donnell, to date, not that I'm aware of, no pushback for either the installation of bollards or regulators.
Okay. It'd be of interest to me if that creeps up again. We have some community experience with that. As a consumers, I mean, this is a safety concern for me as it relates to the happenings in New England with regard to low pressure main and the collapse of a utility because of it and the loss of life because of it and the destruction partially or completely of 80 some structures. So yeah, I'd be interested in knowing more about this. If you can give me some information, Mr. Dodge, I'd appreciate it.
We will, and I can say from personal experience in handling some of the consumer complaints outside of Stride that we do occasionally get pushback on the installation of bollards or safety walls or what have you. We always seem to work it out, and sometimes it's just people don't want to hear from us. They, it's their private property. They don't want it despoiled in their view. But to date, of the handful that I've handled in 5 years, I would say all have been successfully resolved.
Yeah, if I have background noise, it's a jet from Patuxent River Naval Air Station flying over in the vicinity of my house. But some people have legitimate concerns about aesthetics, and they're real. And we're trying to balance the interests of safety and still be sensitive to the aesthetics concern of property owners and homeowners. So it's a tough balance. And if you do encounter complaints in that regard, as it relates to low pressure service replacements, I'd be interested. I think the commission would be interested in knowing. So if you could share that information, not just with me, with the commission, I'd appreciate it. Commissioners. Thank you.
Mr. Herman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Dodge, just a quick question. I'm looking at table 2 on staff's buck sheet, and it's got your results as of June 30th, and it looked like you were relatively on target for meeting all of your goals there. 37%, I understand, is actually not bad at the middle of the year. I'm wondering, do you have any sort of update as to where you expect by the end of the year? Do you expect to meet your targets, or if you have any information?
We do have some updates, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Ackus. I believe we have at least through the end of September to share this morning.
Yes, so as of the end of September, we have retired close to 14 miles worth of main of the 20 planned miles, over 2,700 services of the 3,600 services planned. So we're still on target. We're having a permit issues of one of our projects right now with the Maryland Historical Trust. That would be one of the only one project I think we won't be able to either fill complete or pipe complete by the end of the year as of right now. We anticipate some projects to carry forward because of restoration and paving and timing of invoices per se, but the field work will be completed.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional questions from commissioners?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Since the topic's been raised, I'd like to ask Mr. Tesfaye with regard to the reporting expectations when projects are changed. Maybe you can elaborate, and maybe you can provide some guidance, at least from the staff perspective, of what you'd like to see as far as reporting.
Thank you. Do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
Yes.
We expect generally WGL to be able to accomplish what is already approved by the Commission during the 2021 project list approval process. So we anticipate usually concentrate on the completion of the approved project list. Is that what you?
Okay, well, yeah, I guess I wanted to better understand that, because I mean the point you make the point on page 6 of the buck sheet, but the company is asking for some guidance. So perhaps maybe that can be a conversation staff has directly with the company, just so you don't have to include that type of a notation in future buck sheets. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to the extent that staff and WGL could discuss some of these concerns and open questions that Mr. Dodge raised offline, that may absolve the need to petition the commission for a formal adjudication. Seeing no additional questions, I would move that we approve the changes to the company's 2021 STRIDE project list and note the company's 2021 semi-annual STRIDE status report, that we direct the company to include updated revenue requirements and STRIDE surcharge rate calculations in all STRIDE filings with the commission, that proposed project list changes as noted by staff and directed by the commission during the July 28th, 2021 administrative meeting. And finally, that we accept the proposed monthly surcharges that will become effective November 1st, 2021 through the end of December 2021. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved. Mr. Secretary, the final item, please.
Mr. Chairman, item number 6 is also from Washington Gas Light Company, consisting of updated and expanded information for 2 pilot programs in WGL's 2021 to 2023 energy efficiency pilot proposals. On this item, for staff, we have Michael Zhang and James Greger. For the company, John Dodge, Josh McClelland, and Erica Moore. And for Office of People's Counsel, Nicole Zeichner.
Thank you. Good morning, staff. Mr. Greger.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. This is Michael Jang on behalf of staff.
Hi,
I
Michael.
I
Oh, we don't
apologize,
see you.
Chairman.
I hear you. Okay.
Yeah, I
Michael, good
apologize,
morning.
Chairman and Commissioners, since it seems my camera is not working this morning, but with your permission, I will begin staff's presentation.
Thank you, Michael.
Item number 6 is a filing from WGL providing additional information for 2 pilot programs that the company previously proposed for its 2021 to 2023 Empower Maryland program cycle plans. The company provided additional information for the conditionally approved demand response program pilot and the denied without prejudice gas heat pump pilot, which was previously known as the Natural Gas Advanced Technology and Equipment Proposal, to address the guidelines proposed by the Commission in Order 88438 for developing and evaluating pilot proposals under Empower. All of the proposed pilot budgets for WGL's approved and proposed pilots fall within the Commission's approved total PID budget for the company. For the conditionally approved demand response program pilot, the company provided the additional information in its filing to meet the criteria of a proposed pilot program. Staff's original concern with this proposal when it was originally submitted in the company's 2021 to 2023 program plans was that the program should be evaluated and verified without the need for any additional special studies. WGL has addressed this concern through its plan to use its current third-party evaluator, as well as the statewide evaluator, to evaluate the pilot through standard Empower evaluation guidelines and methodologies. The company's gas heat pump pilot, once again formerly known as the Natural Gas Advanced Technology and Equipment Proposal, was originally denied without prejudice. In staff's original review of the pilot proposal, staff was concerned that the program as previously proposed had no specific recommended technologies or plan to pilot specific technologies. WGL has now provided a pilot proposal to study the potential savings as well as customer interest in gas heat pump technology. As indicated in staff's spec sheet, the company will use a 5-step plan to determine customer interest, provide training to licensed contractors, and determine the potential therm savings related to gas heat pump technology. Staff is supportive of the company's gas heat pump pilot since it meets the criteria of a proposed pilot program and also believes that WGL has addressed both the Commission's and staff's concerns related to the original proposal. Staff has reviewed the company's filing and believes that it has provided the necessary information to meet the guidelines established in Order Number 88438 for pilot programs in Empower. Similar to staff's previous review of WGL's proposed pilots, staff recommends that all the company's proposed pilot programs go through the established EMNV process and provide updates for the pilots during the company's semi-annual Empower reports. The company has indicated that they will do so in this filing. Staff recommends that the Commission approve WGL's demand response pilot and gas heat pump pilot with the modifications recommended by staff. Thank you, and we are available for questions.
Thank you. We'll next turn to Office of People's Counsel, Ms. Eichner.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Nicole Zeitner on behalf of the Office of People's Counsel. Your Honor, OPC has no objection to the proposed demand response program. We generally support testing opportunities for demand response programs within the Empower portfolio. As to the gas heat pump program, we agree that some pilot programs regarding hybrid or gas heat pumps would be appropriate, and we recently advocated for a hybrid heat pump program within the future programming work group. We do want to ensure, however, that there's consultation with Evaluation Advisory Group prior to implementation, and we also would like to ensure that the updates on the pilot program be provided during the semi-annual reports as recommended by staff. In this case, it is especially important that the baseline assumptions for the program are correct, as the baseline assumptions can dramatically affect the calculated benefits. The baseline assumption would be the counterfactual heating system that a participant would install or operate if they did not install a hybrid heat pump. The baseline assumption should be determined based on the design of the pilot program and the particular customers that are targeted. For example, whether the pilot program targets customers with working gas heating systems who are interested in heat pumps versus customers who are interested in replacing gas heating systems that are nearing the end of their service life. The specific data that will be gathered from customers will also be important and should be determined prior to implementation. Involvement of the stakeholders through the evaluation advisory group would allow for feedback and input and enhance the operation of the pilot program. OPC respectfully recommends that the Commission approve the pilot, but with the condition that there's consultation with the evaluation advisory group prior to implementation, and that updates on the pilot program be provided during the semi-annual reports as recommended by staff. I'm available for any questions, and I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Eichner. We'll turn to the utility.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. It's still John Dodge on behalf of Washington Gas. And we're pleased to accept the staff's reporting conditions and evaluation conditions. And I'll turn it over to my colleague, Mr. McClellan, to address OPC's concerns and question. We're also joined, I should say, for the record, by Erica Moore from Washington Gas, and she too is available for any questions. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Dodge. Can I have a quick audio check? Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Josh McClellan on behalf of Washington Gas. First, we'd like to acknowledge and we appreciate both staff's and OPC's comments related to these final two pilot programs that the company is very excited to launch upon your approval. And specifically regarding OPC's comments, we do agree that some additional stakeholder intervention in the gas heat pump pilot program is reasonable. We believe this is a very novel technology and has a lot of cross-cutting end use applications and can be applicable to a variety of different customer segments, be it on the residential or the commercial side. So we agree that that we should be able to provide and have the involvement of the evaluation advisory group into the program planning process. One thing that we'd like to be mindful of and share with the Commission and the rest of the groups here on the call is that the success of the gas heat pump pilot is predicated on the amount of data that we can collect during the program cycle. So we would just recommend that we be mindful of the time frame and the amount of information that we need during the various heating seasons for this year, the following year, and then at the end of the program cycle. Another thing that we would like to consider, another item we'd like to consider rather, is that we do understand, or we do acknowledge that getting the baseline condition correct, and what we mean by correct, at least from our behalf, is that it is as close to real world conditions as it possibly can be. That means there could be some additional costs and some additional testing and modeling that could be associated with that. So we also want to be mindful of the budget that the proposed budget that we want to stick to as part of this pilot program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McClellan. I was reviewing the proposal. Obviously, it's changed a lot since its last sort of incarnation a while back. Perhaps, Mr. McClellan, for you, I'm taking a look at the gas heat pump pilot, and it appears that the minimum number of installations would be 5. Is that right?
That's correct.
What is the hope? What is the best number of installations where you would get meaningful data back from this pilot program? Because I noticed that over the course of the 3 years, that pilot program would be $1.36 million, and I'm hoping that there would be more than just 5 installations.
All right, that's a point well taken, Mr. Chairman. And I believe 5 is the minimum number that we would want to start with. Of course, we do want to be mindful of cost, and a large majority of the costs associated with this pilot program is to the purchase of certain equipment. And of course, that the equipment, based on its end use application, has a pretty large swing in terms of how much it would cost, anywhere from a few $1,000s all the way up to $50,000 to $60,000. So definitely sticking to the proposed budget is something that we're always going to be mindful of. But on the other side of that, we want to make sure that we do have enough equipment in the field being operated that will allow us to achieve significant results and help us verify the savings that is associated with the gas heat pump technology. So 5 is please go ahead.
My question is the $1.36 million associated with just 5 projects or an optimal number above 5?
So the total amount for the pilot program, a large portion of that is for the equipment, but it is also some other costs associated with that. There is some marketing and outreach and some additional administrative fees and costs that are associated with that. So there isn't a set number of projects. It's more about just the amount of equipment that we are going to attempt to have installed and operated in the service territory.
Okay, I guess that was my question. I didn't know if we could pay for 10 or 20 or 50 of these projects with this budget, or if it's really just right sized for about 5 projects. All right. Can you give me the breakdown between equipment cost and labor or installation costs? And you'll have two, is it 2 contractors that will be primarily responsible for the installation?
So there'll be a primary program implementation vendor, which will be the Gas Technology Institute. And through them, we'll be leveraging our existing contractor network on the residential and commercial side of our energy efficiency programs that are already in place. So there'll be some contractor training and development, sort of workforce development elements that'll be part of this. And so that training and that development is part of the cost associated with it. In terms of percentages, I don't have that right in front of me. I do believe staff asked a similar question, and I believe, at least in terms of equipment, the actual equipment purchase itself, that'll be roughly 30 to 40% of the budget. And then the administrative contractor costs will be somewhere in the 10 to 15% range.
Okay, Mr. Mulcullen. So if the price of the equipment is 30 to 50, and then we have another 10%, where's the balance? I guess we're missing up to about another 40%.
Good morning, Chairman. This is Michael Jang with Commission staff. Staff did ask for a breakdown of the percentages for how WL would pay for these costs, so I can just go through that quickly.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Jang. I may have missed that on the appendices. Yes, if you can.
Yes, so project design, management, and administration, that's approximately 7%. I want to specify that this is for 2021 and 2022. Market assessments is 15%. Customer identification, so including outreach and selection, 10%. Contractor engagement, 7%. Field tests, which includes the equipment installation and commissioning, is 44%. And then monitoring is the 17%. So that's for 2021 and 2022. And then 2023 is fairly similar from what I can see, but a slight shift from field tests to evaluation and reporting.
I appreciate that, Mr. Zhang. Did I miss that entirely in the buck sheet, or was that just information that was shared?
That was a DR that staff sent, but was not formally mentioned in the staff buck sheet.
Thank you. I appreciate those numbers. It goes a long way to sort of addressing where those dollars go. I'll yield to my colleagues if they have questions. Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you've already discussed some of the costs of the heat pump program, which is of concern. So just so I'm clear, this would proceed with the $1.3 million budget with just 5 installations. Is that correct? And the other part of that is, if it goes to 10, does that, and I think you may have answered the question, but I just want to be clear, does that expand the cost of the program?
Thank you, Commissioner Richard. So the projects or the equipment that we intend to purchase is a minimum of 5. So based on some initial assessment at the launch of the pilot program and determining what is the most applicable end use applications, there's a possibility for us to purchase more equipment beyond just that minimum of 5. But considering that, we do not intend to go over the proposed budget as it's been filed.
Okay, so 1.3 is a cap. Let me just ask quickly about the technology itself. So as a hybrid system, does that mean it partially runs, with electric heat pump, and does it then the gas kicks in for when it really exceptionally cold weather? Is that how a hybrid gas would work?
That's correct. There are hybrid gas and electric heat pump systems. That type of technology will not be the focus of this specific pilot program. We will be just focusing on gas only systems. I think maybe in terms of the phrase hybrid that's being used, it's a split or multiple end use applications. So hybrid would be both space heating and water heating for that may come from one specific unit.
Oh, okay. So it's not just heating; it's for water heating as well.
Correct. It could be. There's a few different end use applications that we're going to explore and try to get installed in the field. So there also could be a cooling element as well. Gas heat pump technology does have a cooling end use application.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just partially concerned for Maryland's climate. You know, is this the right investment for here? I mean, there are some very efficient all electric systems now, and I just wanted to just ask that question. I mean, is this something we really need in Maryland, or is this something really for more northern climes or much climates with much more severe weather?
That's a great question, Commissioner Richard. I would say just very upfront, yes, we do believe that gas heat pump technology is very applicable to the Mid-Atlantic region and specifically within Maryland. We've seen a lot of successful applications across the country, not just in either the New England Territory or the provinces in Canada. That technology is more prevalent in those areas, but we've seen other programs come online in Southern California with SoCal Gas, and even up in the Pacific Northwest, which does have a colder climate, but not as cold as maybe the Northeast. So we've seen a broad range across the entire country and across a variety of climate zones for gas heat pump technology.
Okay. All right. Well, and you say that the technology also, this would incorporate water heating as well.
Correct.
Okay. Let me ask about the demand response program. What is the policy reason for a gas demand response program? Because as I understand it, when we look at electric demand response, I mean, there are system benefits. You have to expand the grid, and there are also the benefits of potentially not having to use less environmentally desirable resources through a demand response program. I'm not quite understanding what a gas demand response program, what the policy reasons for doing that are.
Right. I can't speak to specifically the system benefits. That would be outside of my wheelhouse. But what I can do, speak to is, I think the intent of why we wanted to stand up a demand response program is for the latter item that you mentioned, is it's an additional option for customers and to reduce their energy consumption. There's just a variety of different levers that a customer can pull within our various programs within the portfolio. So this is just one feature that we want to have include. It's a bring your own thermostat type of program. It's an opt-in type of program. So this is completely voluntary to the customer. So this just gives them the ability to better manage and be mindful of the energy they're consuming. So we're seeing it more on just the energy efficiency benefit and fuel reduction benefit side of it.
There's really less of a demand response. I mean, can't you already do that with just a smart thermostat? I don't understand what the value added is of this program suggestion.
Well, we think the value add outside of a customer changing the temperature on a smart thermostat is that there are peak events that happen throughout the year, and so of course we're going to be focused on the colder winter heating season events, the colder events that happen, and so we just want to have that as included as another capability for us to reduce consumption for folks that may not want to just be mindful or try to do that on their own. This is something that kind of happens automatically. And so we think it's just a very easy component or feature that could be attractive to some of our customers to help them reduce their energy consumption.
Okay, but I don't want to use too much more time, but isn't that the reason for all of our behavioral programs to try to, get them to take these actions? I'm just sort of struggling with why we have to go this extra step and the cost of it.
Right. So I think the one difference between a demand response program, or at least in the version that we're looking to seek approval from, and versus a behavioral program, is we're trying to incentivize behavior changes through the behavioral program that the customers themselves will do. Whereas a demand response, it's almost automatic. They don't really have to do anything. It just kind of happens on the back end. And we, as the utility and through our program implementer, will identify these certain peak events and throttle the temperature down, and the customer doesn't have to think about it.
Okay, well, again, I think that's the functionality of getting people to use smart meters, but Mr. Chairman, at this point, it has the endorsement of staff, and it's important to me, it has the endorsement of the Office of People's Counsel, so I will be supporting the recommendation, the program.
Thank you. Seeing no additional questions from my colleagues, I would move that we approve WGL's demand response pilot and gas heat pump pilot with the modifications recommended by staff and Office of People's Counsel in staff's comments dated October 20th, 2021, and more recently, OPC's comments, as Ms. Eichner explained today. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be voting aye, but I would like to, I was a little on the fence on this one, Mr. Dodge and the rest of your colleagues. So let's make sure we stay within our budget on this one. I don't want to come back and be doubling the budget on this program, which is, has, as you can see, has some questions. So thank you.
Commissioner Linton. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye, and I'd like to associate myself with the comments of Commissioner Herman.
Commissioner Richard.
And I go aye, and like I said, I'm hanging on to the fence, but it was only OPC that pushed me over, so.
I vote aye. The motion is approved. Before we adjourn today, some instructions for those interested individuals and parties waiting for the start of case number 9666. We will start this morning at 11:12 a.m. Everybody will be kicked out and removed from this room. You'll have to reconnect in just a moment using the link that was provided to gain entry into the administrative meeting. That hearing will start at 11:12 a.m. Case number 9666. Thank you and